You know that exact moment when your phone lights up on the table or vibrates in your pocket and you see 10, 15, maybe 20 unread WhatsApp messages on the lock screen? And the worst part is, they're not annoying work messages or demands for payment. They're messages from people you genuinely love. It's your best friend asking, "Hey, long time no see, how are you?" It's a family member sending a long audio message. It's someone from your group making plans to hang out on the weekend. That's it. What would a person with normal energy do? They would pick up their phone, open the app, and reply immediately. But not you. Your stomach churns, your chest tightens. You use that sneaky trick of reading messages secretly, only pulling down the notification bar to avoid giving away the blue-red receipt. You check just to be absolutely sure that no one has died and that there are no medical emergencies. And when you confirm that everyone is okay, you swipe the notifications aside with trembling fingers, lock the screen, and murmur to yourself, "Tomorrow. Tomorrow, when I wake up with a little more energy, I swear I'll reply calmly." The great silent tragedy is that tomorrow arrives and the energy doesn't. Tomorrow becomes next week becomes next month. And suddenly, without any planning, you've fallen into a social black hole. You've vanished from the map. You've become that ghost friend everyone complains about who disappears out of nowhere. And with each new day of silence, the guilt of not having said a simple hi becomes so overwhelming that the idea of opening that app to try and explain yourself makes you want to dig a hole in the ground and never come out again. If you're going through that agonizing cycle of switching to airplane mode and disappearing from people's lives, I bet the entire internet has already put you on trial. Relationship gurus and the merciless court of social media spout that toxic cliche you're probably tired of hearing. Oh, come on. Replying to a message only takes 2 seconds. If someone wants to, they'll find a way. If they saw it and didn't take 2 seconds out of their day for you, it's because they don't care and you're not a priority in their life. They point the finger at you and accuse you of being emotionally irresponsible, a cold, immature friend, or an egocentric person who discards people whenever they feel like it. And hearing that cuts your soul in two, doesn't it? But let me look you in the eyes now and tell you a brutal secret that will lift a weight off your shoulders and silence those who judge you without knowing your mind. You don't disappear out of nowhere because you stopped loving people. The cruelest and loneliest irony of your life is that you disappear for the exact opposite reason. You care so much about them, you demand so much of yourself, that the overwhelming pressure of having to perform the mask of the strong, functional, and always available person simply melted your brain's processor. Your isolation is not a personal attack or an act of rejection against anyone. It is a pure biological survival instinct that clinical psychology calls defensive isolation. Today, we're going to enter the ICU of your exhausted mind together. I'm going to prove to you through neuroscience and evolutionary biology why the 2-second rule is the biggest lie ever invented. And I'm going to show you how your own shame traps you in a cycle of unpayable emotional debt. And most importantly, I'm going to give you a tactical protocol, a real smoke signal, so you can hibernate peacefully in the future without destroying the friendships of those who truly love you. So take a deep breath, take the weight of guilt off your shoulders, forgive yourself for a minute, and come with me. To defuse this ticking time bomb of guilt that beats against your chest every day, we first need to implode the most dishonest myth of modern relationships, the idea that replying only takes 2 seconds. Whoever invented that catchy phrase clearly never studied how a person's nervous system works when they're on the verge of exhaustion. For you, sending a simple, "Hi, I'm fine, and you?" isn't the end of a harmless task. Your hypervigilant brain knows exactly how the law of reciprocity works. It understands that this response isn't a final point. It's the signing of an invisible and obligatory contract for a marathon of interactions that you're not physically or mentally capable of running that day. Think about the math of exhaustion. The exact second you send that "hi," you know the other person will be happy to see you online and will reply. They'll send a 3-minute audio message venting about their boss, they'll ask about your relationship, and the worst case scenario, they'll try to arrange a coffee date or a weekend outing. And then your body's circuit breaker trips, because to interact with them, you know you'll have to pull your heavy armor out of the closet. You've built your identity on what psychology calls social camouflage or social masking. You're always the friend who gives advice, the strong one, the funny one, the one who solves problems and doesn't complain. But when your inner world ignites, when you're sad, confused, or just numb from exhaustion, that mask weighs a ton. You're terrified to disappoint people by delivering a half-hearted version of yourself, a broken, useless, or uninteresting version. So, in an act of protection and shame to avoid being a burden, you lock yourself in the dark. You don't run from people, you run from the overwhelming expectation of having to perform for them. And I know perfectly well how lonely and cold it is to live hidden in that cave, thinking you're an antisocial monster who can't maintain normal relationships. And since your natural instinct when the world weighs on you is to seek a quiet environment where no one will judge you for not having the strength to interact, I have a crucial and very low-energy invitation for you. Transform this channel into the safest extension of your cave and click the subscribe button right now. Do you know why this is the only notification your exhausted brain can and should activate today without feeling panic about rejection? Because in your messaging apps, people demand quick responses. They want your presence. They want audio messages and interactions in return. Not here. By clicking this button, you sign a silent and liberating agreement with your own mind, sending a biological message to your nervous system. We've found shelter. Here, the rule is silence. Here, I don't need to wear my social mask. Leave the dense and complex work of researching neuroscience and decoding human behavior to me. Your only function here is to exist in your own time. Press this button to secure your safe place in our tribe of exhausted people. Sit in the darkness of your room and let me be the voice that welcomes you, without ever demanding a good morning in return. Have you made this subscription your official hiding place? Excellent. Because now, we're going to confront the worst and most destructive part of your disappearance, the mathematics of how a seemingly harmless 3-day void ends up annihilating 10-year friendships. The great tragedy of your social blackout is a silent phenomenon that functions exactly like the exorbitant interest rates on an overdue credit card. I call it the spiral of emotional debt. Pay close attention to the anatomy of your disappearance. On the first day you didn't reply the message, you were simply exhausted. The silence was a necessary medicine. It was just a, I can't handle it today. On the 5th day, an itch of anxiety begins to prick the back of your neck. Wow, it's really annoying that I haven't replied yet. I need to send something. Tomorrow I'll make up a good excuse. But when you hit the mark of 20 or 30 days of absolute silence, the chemical dynamics of your brain changes completely and the guilt reaches radioactive levels. You think, my God, I disappeared for a whole month. I can't just send a hi, miss you now as if nothing happened. If I show up today, a shallow apology won't do. I'll have to record a 10-minute audio message, get down on one's knees, give a monumental explanation, and deal with the legitimate hurt they'll throw in my face. The cognitive effort required to repay this gigantic debt of affection is so colossal, and the shame is so paralyzing that your brain makes the worst possible decision to end the agony. It declares bankruptcy. It prefers to endure the silent grief of letting that friendship die of starvation than face the person's eyes and deal with their judgment. Your isolation, which began merely as a physiological need to rest for a few hours, becomes a snowball of shame that rips away the most precious people in your life. But it is precisely here that evolutionary biology absolves you of the villain title. Think about the behavior of a pack animal in the wild, like a wolf, a bear, or a lion. When this animal is seriously injured during a hunt or contracts a debilitating disease, it doesn't limp back to the pack to socialize, interact, or seek affection from the others. Its visceral survival instinct compels it to do the exact opposite. It silently abandons the pack and seeks the darkest, most inaccessible and isolated cave it can find. And it does this for two brilliant instinctive reasons. First, it needs to shut down all external signals and focus 100% of its meager metabolic energy solely on its own cellular healing without distractions. And second, it knows that in nature, a bleeding animal attracts predators and puts the entire group in danger. It isolates because it feels it has become a target at a dead weight. Your human disappearance, your silent hibernation in your room with your phone on airplane mode, is exactly that. It's the ICU of your soul. It's your wounded inner animal licking its own wounds in the dark.
You haven't stopped loving the people out there. You just feel that at the moment their company is useless, heavy, and toxic, and your body drags you to the cave to stop an emotional hemorrhage that no one outside can see. It's a desperate act, yes, but in your mind, it's an act of self-preservation, not cruelty. The big problem, the brutal flaw in our modern social system, is that unlike wolves in the forest, your friends don't have the gift of telepathy. When you enter the cave unannounced and lock the door, those left outside don't know if you're healing your wounds or if you simply hate them. Absolute silence in the digital world isn't read as "I'm tired," it's always read as "you don't matter anymore." So, how do we solve this in practice, honoring your non-negotiable need to hibernate and protect your energy, but without causing panic among the people outside? We're going to use a crisis management protocol that I call low-energy proof of life, or simply the smoke signal. The fatal mistake